And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Top Dog Talk podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Sereno. Alongside me, co-host Kobe Pierce. Yeah, there's a vacancy on the screen. We know. He will be with us maybe tonight. I'm not sure. We'll see. But Kobe, how you doing this evening?
Good. How about yourself?
Doing great, man. Hey, Dan, nice of you to show up tonight, man.
7:30, bitch. I'm ready to roll. Let's go.
I don't think you realize this. We're live. Here in the Jesus. That's why we don't do that. But
You kind of asked for that.
yeah. So, little prank on Dan tonight. We started with 30 seconds on the clock, so we can hit him with the nice of you show up. But gentlemen, initial thoughts. Kobe, I know what Dan's getting ready. Initial thoughts and reactions to the college football playoff rankings.
Yeah, I thought that initial thoughts is a pretty solid ranking, I would say. Just like, I thought they played it pretty safe. I thought they followed their new criteria. They rewarded teams that have played tougher schedules, i.e. Notre Dame, a team that has played 2 tough games earlier in the year, but really has looked pretty good since then. And I mean, honestly, you're talking about they lost a game at Miami by a field goal, and then on literally a fluke extra point lost to Texas A&M, where they lost 42-41. I would say my biggest surprises are two teams out of the gate. I would say Georgia Tech won. I thought Georgia Tech was a little low for me personally, only because if I look at them in the same way I look at maybe like a Notre Dame, they've looked really, really good all year, except last week at NC State in a game that just kind of got away from them defensively. I think NC State played way outside of their capabilities and just really kind of, sometimes when you're on the road, and shit starts rolling downhill, it really gets rolling on you in a bad way. So I definitely more sympathetic to that and thinking that, maybe that shouldn't drop them down to, I think it ended up like 18 or something like that for them. And then Indiana. I think Indiana fans should be upset. I really thought that last night it would have been Indiana 1, Ohio State 2, or some version thereof, maybe even Texas A&M 2, Ohio State 3. But I really think Indiana has probably the most impressive win at Oregon the way they won. I mean, Buddy threw a pick 6 late in that game, and they still won by 10. So, and I would say in the same sense, Texas A&M has probably one of the best wins at Notre Dame. So I could have seen an argument for either one of them. Ohio State's a phenomenal team. I just think that there's some meat left on that bone for them to basically say, oh, well, they're number one, through and through at this point. What about you, Dan? Anything kind of like stick out to you, jump out at you? Think anything they missed, or did they kind of nail it, right on the head?
So I've had all day to digest all of this, and I've heard everybody's takes on it. And to kind of come at you, like some of your takeaways is, what's Georgia Tech's best win? They don't have one. They don't have a best win. They just haven't played anybody. Now they do have a path to get there, but all along the narrative has been Georgia Tech has to win the ACC to get into the playoff, regardless of their record. And I 100% agree with that. I think that's the way in, and it's not necessarily their fault that everybody on their schedule has been really bad, but they just don't have a quality win. As far as Indiana being number one, I can see your argument, and I agree with it. The only thing I would say is Texas A&M has probably looked as good as anybody, if not better, and they've got some strength of schedule-wise. Their schedule is a little bit better than Indiana. Indiana does have the best win. I don't know that they have the best resume, if that makes sense. Like, they do have the one-off. As far as Ohio State, not a great – I mean, they beat a Texas team that has turned out to be not very good, but it is a Texas win, and that's going to carry weight in the voters' eyes, so we get that. But the only thing I would say, and I am not an Ohio State fan, and you know that, would be to beat the champion – or to be the champ, you got to beat the champ. And until they lose a game, they're still number one, right? And And that's the kind of the same way that we felt with Georgia, did we not? When Georgia won the national championship the next year, I kind of felt like, hey, until somebody beats Georgia, we should be ranked number one every week, regardless of what happens. So I get that point of view. If you look down, the AP poll is not a real poll. So, right? Isn't that what they say? It's not a real poll. It doesn't mean anything. But the rankings mirror the AP poll. And when the stupid people on the committee were talking about beating ranked teams, they were talking about AP rankings. So for a poll that doesn't matter, why does it matter? And then my other takeaway is we do this every year, and the committee tells you that nobody's going to go up or down next week. It's going to be a brand new poll. So it doesn't matter if Notre Dame is number 10 this week. They could be number 4 next week. And they don't have to give you a reason why. They could just say we are. And I'm not, they wouldn't do that, but you get my point. So I think it's a great talking piece. I think college football has done a great job of marketing this to where it matters. And then news talk radio or sports talk radio all day long, ESPN has content for weeks because people are going to argue these things, where at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. And then also, if you go back and look at history, these polls never look the same when it's official. So, and my other takeaway, just real quick, and I'll let Harrison talk, is Georgia has a hard ass draw. If that was to be real, granted, Memphis is not, but you'd have to beat Alabama, and then you'd have to beat Ohio State just to make it into the national championship game. That is a tough road to hoe. Let's slip to number 6 if we could. That'd be great.
I was just about to ask, what is the easiest matchup? What is the easiest road here?
The bottom bracket.
Bottom bracket? Hold on. I'm trying to see if I can get.
Which is identical to how it was last year. Bottom bracket was our bracket with Notre Dame. That, the winner of that game had the easiest bracket, and Notre Dame, I mean, not saying they had the easiest bracket and that's why they won, but it definitely was the easiest road, it looked like, from start to finish.
And Ole Miss is in the catbird seat. They play Virginia in round 1, and then I can't remember who they get in the round 2, but maybe Indiana.
There we go. We got a solution to the issue. All right. So 5-12, obviously Georgia, winner of Georgia Memphis plays Alabama in the quarters. Oregon, Texas Tech winner plays Ohio State. Virginia, Ole Miss winner plays Texas A&M, and then winner of BYU, Notre Dame plays Indiana.
If you're asking me, the best 4 teams are in the top bracket. Alabama, Georgia, Oregon, and Ohio State are my best 4 teams.
Dang. Best 4.
Wow.
I'm not saying
you think Oregon's better than Indiana, even though Indiana beat them head to head?
Yeah, I think that was early in the season. I think they're a better football team.
What about Texas A&M?
Wow. See, I would heavily disagree with you that I think Indiana's, I would argue, almost better than Ohio State at this point in the year.
I'm hot. I think Texas A&M, Alabama, the SEC championship. That's gonna be a football game.
I'm hot on Signetti and the boys at the moment.
The thing about Indiana is we're not going to find out. They don't play anybody until
they play Ohio State in the Big Ten championship.
Right. That would definitely happen, and that would be the one game. So they've got to win one game.
Well, I would be worried if I was Indiana. If you lose that game convincingly, in a bad way, I mean, you could be looking at dropping significantly, in my opinion.
I don't think they would drop out of top 12, though. Do you?
No. But from the 2 seed to maybe not hosting, I could see, being the 7 seed. That's a pretty big jump. You go from a bye to having to play on the road. That's quite the drastic change. That's also why, and I hate it, but it's going to have to happen sooner or later, especially now that there's not auto buys for the conference champions. Somebody's going to get screwed on conference championship weekend, going from a Texas A&M, somebody that should have had a bye, to they are going to get bumped to not even hosting. And I think people will start calling for conference championship games to dissolve at that point. Because why play? If you're the Big Ten and you have the number 1, number 2 seed, why make them play anywhere except the national championship?
I don't think conference championships will be around for much longer anyways. People are already talking about getting rid of them. Although I do think they are somewhat needed in terms of preventing this situation where your top two teams out of the Big Ten both have only played one real game at this point. And that doesn't look like Indiana. Indiana's next toughest games in the Big Ten championship. They play absolutely nobody. They didn't play anybody. I believe all their next 3 games are all versus unranked and opponents with losing records, if I remember correctly. Actually, yeah, I believe Wisconsin. I know Penn State has a losing record. Wisconsin has a losing record. And let's see, does Purdue have a winning record? Purdue has a losing record. That's a damn joke. That is a joke. This is also a joke, gents. This is also a joke. I get it. They beat Oregon, and that surprised the crap out of me. But in a year where the committee said strength of schedule is going to matter, in my opinion, this isn't a good look. Not a good look at all, especially when the team you have behind them has the number 1 strength of record. And they've played, I believe Texas A&M has played 3 ranked opponents. And Texas A&M has quite the schedule to close out the year. They go on the road this weekend to Missouri. Then they go home and play South Carolina. Home versus, obviously, Sanford. And then on the road to Texas. 2 ranked teams in just the final 4 weeks, whereas Indiana has played Oregon and won't play anybody else for the rest of the season until the Big Ten championship. Not to mention the Aggies also have a win over Notre Dame. So in terms of my disappointments, I would say strength of schedule mattering has taken a hit, even though it's supposed to be calculated into the metrics more this year. Last thing, and then we'll move it on. As of what it's currently constructed, the way it looks, I think at the end of the day, the SEC is getting 5 teams in the college football playoffs. You like more? Do you like less? What do we say? I think 5, and I think your 5 are. I'll give you my 5.
Okay.
Texas A&M.
Okay.
Alabama.
Okay.
Georgia.
Okay.
Ole Miss.
Okay.
And I think OU. I think OU will sneak in. I don't think Texas. If Texas beats, I don't think Texas is going to go 2-0 versus Georgia and Texas A&M. They're going to drop one of those 2 games. OU has to beat. OU has a tough schedule as well. They got to play Alabama, and I don't particularly want to take them in this game. But that's and maybe that's the question mark for me, boys, is who do you trust more to win one of those 2 games? Do you trust OU to beat Alabama more than you do Texas to beat one of Texas A&M in Georgia?
I think Texas.
Maybe Texas is more likely, honestly.
So I just guess my thing is I don't know. I think that a lot would have to go wrong below you for there to be 5 SEC teams to get in, just because of the way they have things worked with, you still have to make room for Memphis, who's unranked at the moment.
True.
You still have to make room for possibly that Virginia team at 14 or the ACC champion. So also Louisville, also Georgia Tech, also, whoever wins the ACC, you got to make room for them at the 11 seed. So I really think that's where somebody's going to be upset, is going to be it's not like last year where Boise State was one of the better looking teams all throughout the season, right? And they had the Heisman Trophy finalist in the backfield, and everybody's like, Boise State, pretty good team. It's really not somebody you want to run into, versus this year where like Memphis is, they had to do the segment of, the committee continues to rank outside the top 25 until they hit a group of 5 school, and then that's who it is. It's like, that's going to get real old real quick. If you don't think that they're even worth a top 25 ranking, why are they going to get into the playoffs for free? Like, that's crazy. That's a good point. Like you're saying, you're talking about a bubble team, which, like you're saying, Dan's about to have a fantastic little hot topic. But you talk about a bubble team, and are you more deserving as the bubble team at 9-3 in the SEC or Memphis at 12-1? Who's really more deserving? Because that's what the playoffs were shopped as. That's what they've been marketed as, is the 12 most deserving teams in college football get to play in the college football playoffs. Well, who gets to decide what deserving means?
Well, I don't even think it's deserving. It's best, right? Isn't that what they said? 12 best teams, and that's what we all want to see. I want to see the 12 best teams. I don't know exactly what metric you use. I don't know if anybody ever listens to 680 The Fan, but this morning they were just going on and on and on. John Michaels was just so upset. He wants all these stats and numbers to figure in, and Brian Finneran is like, the eyeball test. You can watch a team and tell if they're good or not. And he's like, that's just an opinion. Well, I mean, what is that? I mean, unless you make every team play every team, which is not possible. A lot of it is based on opinion. But, Vegas will tell you the truth. Vegas doesn't lie because Vegas is in it to make money, baby. How much? So Memphis, the first round pick or the first round matchup with Georgia, Vegas put out lines on that today. What is that spread?
23.5.
You were off by a half a point, 22 and a half.
Nice.
Damn.
Right?
You think
Ole
Silverfield
Miss-
was thinking he could match up with Georgia when he made that comment about showing players the headline
No,
about Georgia players
I
speed
don't
and all
think he
that?
was, but that would be great. Ole Miss,
My bad.
Virginia,
Continue on.
first round matchup. What do you think Ole Miss is favored by?
14 and a half.
No.
17 and a half.
Damn it. You didn't give me a
Ooh.
chance to guess, Dan.
Right? Out of all those first round the first round games, Oregon is 13 and a half, I believe is what they said. But Texas Tech is a pick 'em, which I don't believe that. I mean, I would pick Texas Tech straight up.
Who are they supposed to play? Who? BYU?
BYU.
Yeah, no, they play Texas Tech plays Oregon in the 8-9
Wait, no.
seed game.
Okay, who's playing BYU?
BYU is playing Notre Dame.
Okay, yeah. So Notre Dame was the big favorite. Was the so Ole Miss?
So Oregon was the pick'em game.
Yeah, Oregon was the pick'em game.
Damn.
Sorry.
And I guess
Oregon,
maybe
Texas
is that
Tech in the pick'em.
is
That'd
that
be
because
crazy.
Texas Tech has home field? Like, is Texas Tech
Yes.
home field advantage
I
being
think Texas Tech
counted
is at
heavily?
home.
Heck yeah.
Anyway, the point is that those games aren't close, and they weren't close last year. If I'm not mistaken, weren't they all massive blowouts last year? So
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, what would ours finish? 24-10? Something like that.
who did we play?
Notre Dame.
Well, that was a second round game,
Yeah,
but Notre Dame beat Indiana decisively
Gotcha.
by a lot
in that first round.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we put way too much stock into this stuff, and I think a lot of it plays itself out. I think that's the part that kind of makes me giggle a little bit whenever people are really. I mean, like I hear people getting like I don't think anybody on this show is getting over the top animated or anything like that. So I'm not pointing the finger at my co-hosts. I'm just saying there are people who get like really worked up about this, and it's like it's so early. I don't understand because a lot of the stuff works itself out. Like there are teams in there that are going to get losses. There are teams in there that have to play other ranked teams. Like there's so much football left. Well, it's getting late early, but there's still a lot of football left. And, these teams have to play people. Like Georgia doesn't have the easiest schedule on the way out. Tech has games on their schedule. Like, people who were really, really upset about Georgia Tech today. Well, Georgia Tech has every opportunity to prove it. You get to play a terrible Boston College team. You get to play a pretty good Pitt team. You get an opportunity to play Georgia. If you can find your way into an ACC championship, you got to play that game. So Tech has opportunities to get in there if they're as good as everybody says there is. But Georgia has some real games left on their schedule. So we'll see. I think the biggest blessing in disguise would be if Georgia doesn't have to play an SEC championship game. To Kobe's point, that would be really great.
What about this? Eddie from Ackworth feeded this all into AI and spit out 12. Look, I wouldn't be opposed to having AI formula involved in the process, but I don't want to go back to straight computers. I think you need some human subjectivity in this, but I don't think it needs to be autonomous.
If I'm going back, I'm not letting AI touch it. Throw my comment out.
The BCS.
If I had to pick it, and I'm with you, I don't want computers to roll at all. But to me, you have to be able to build an algorithm like you're talking about, strength of schedule, strength of record, quality wins, all those things, and be able to spit some kind of rough estimate of this is where it should be.
I'm here with that. It does get a little crazy here, just like with the AP poll. Human subjectivity, humans themselves ruin things. I do think there is a need for some formulaic system in place, but it shouldn't be the whole thing. So I'm sorry, EFA, but I'm going to have to label that under dumb take number 1 for my man, EFA. I guess, quickly, let's hit this hot topic because we're 20 minutes in. We said quick thoughts. That was not quick, but it's the playoff rankings, first one of the year. I don't know if we'll talk about these every single week until the final ones. Probably not, because after a while, it's just going to get repetitive. But for now, it was noteworthy. We brought it up. Can't promise we will talk about it every time. Hot topic number 1. What gets people more riled up? Projected NCAA bracket for March Madness or football? To me,
go ahead, Kobe. Go ahead, Harrison.
My bad.
No, go ahead.
To me, it's football, and I feel like it's not even close. But here's the thing. I think the reason I say that is basketball doesn't do these big televised ranking reveals. Like, basketball is just, hey, what does Joe Lunardi think? What does Dan Kiley think? What does Field of 64 put out? Now, granted, I don't know. Dan is a bigger college basketball fan than I am, maybe than Kobe. I don't know what Kobe's college basketball allegiances like in terms of watching are. Granted, he played college football for 4 years, so I imagine probably not much until recently. Probably didn't have enough time, but I right now I think it's college football. It's not even close. But if you add in basketball doing something like this, where it's like, hey, the last 4 weeks of the season, you're getting your Field of 64 right now. Maybe there is a bunch of backlash.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference between, like you're saying, the reason I'm going football as well is like the most entertaining, partially because of these constant reveals, but also partially because like you can force so much opinion like into college football because there's not a lot of room for maneuvering. Like after this week in college football with 3 weeks left to go, there's really not a lot of room to fluctuate in these rankings, right? Like there's not going to be an unranked team get into the college football playoffs without winning their conference championship at this point in the season, right? So like if you're, I think Missouri ended up ranked, but say you're Missouri, right? You can't go on a hot enough run to sneak in at this point because you're out of the SEC championship, but that's not the way basketball is, right? Like basketball, you win your conference tournament, you are guaranteed a spot in the round of 64. So you can be the 11th best team in the SEC, and if you get hot at the right time, you are guaranteed a spot in the Field of 64. I think that's the part that makes basketball so much more fun, and it doesn't leave room for that. Well, Missouri didn't deserve to be in the round of 64. Yeah, maybe they didn't, but they went 6-0 in the SEC tournament and they won the SEC. You have to let them in at that point. And I'm with you too. Like they basically just spit out a bracket at you and go, "Here you go, take it or leave it, no arguments."
Yeah,
you were the last 4 out. See you later. We never change it ever.
So, listen, and hear me out. And here's my reason. Here's my reason why. I think more people lose their mind about the college basketball because you have people who have not watched basketball all year long, and then all of a sudden, everybody plays the bracket, right? Everybody plays the bracket, and they want this team and they want that team. And Jay Billis and Joe Lunardi, and they go on. They have bracketologists. You don't have a college football bracketologist. You have college basketball bracketologists. They're like first 4 in, first 4 out. This one, quad 1 win, quad 2 win, quad 3 win, da 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 da. And like, dude, it is a whole thing. And they talk about it for what?
I have a question for you, Mr. Basketball Mind.
Yes, sir.
Why do they do the next 4 out? I've never understood that. Like, they do last 4 in, first 4 out, and then they do next 4 out. I'm like, who gives a shit if you were the 6th team out? You know what I mean? Like,
they're close.
I'm just saying, like, I get it for those like last teams maybe, but like if I'm the 7th team, don't even put me on the graphic. I don't care.
content, brother. They're trying to get more people riled up. I mean, that's the whole point of it. And that is my reason why I say basketball, because they try to get you pissed off about it, because the more energy, the more emotion you pour into it, the more willing you are going to be to want to watch. And a lot of people watch because they hate watch, right? They're like, I want to see that team get beat or whatever. But I think they have done such a wonderful job of marketing that NCAA bracket to where, I mean, my wife plays every year. Let me tell you how many college basketball games my wife has watched in the last 10 years that she's done a bracket in every one of them. 100% right. 0. I mean, she may come by and be like, oh, look, Duke's on. Their uniforms are pretty tonight, and then walk away. Or like last year, she was like, oh, is that the Cooper guy? Yeah, that's the Cooper guy. So, but what I'm saying is like, it's just different. You would be stupid to say that anybody watches college basketball like they watch college football. The numbers bear that out every single week. College football numbers are rivaling NFL numbers now. Now they're not quite there yet. Okay, I'm not going to go there, but they're getting up there, right? I mean, you have like some games, 12 million people watching the game. That's a hell of a lot. You're not going to have 12 million watching the basketball, but you have a lot more people involved, engaged with the bracket. So I do think people go absolutely batshit crazy, but it is a fun argument to have. What do they always say about college basketball, though? The tournament has ruined the regular season. We haven't quite gotten there with football. I mean, the regular season does seem to matter a little bit right now.
Hey, and I love it. Let's not change that. I don't need no field of 64 in football. Keep it at 12 right now. I don't even care for 16. I'm cool with where we're at. Really am. I was cool at 4.
I could still go down for my. We could be at 10. I could be very happy at 10.
I'd be even happier at 8. Teams.
I think 10 would be fun because you could still do 1 and 2 get a bye. I think I could get behind still doing the bye for the best 2 teams, but outside of that, let them play.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see. Our opinions don't seem to matter in terms of like the fans' opinions in terms of the expansion or non-expansion. They just don't care. They do what they want, unfortunately. All about the money, as Dan says. Trace back the money. Dan was looking at me like, I'm about to slap the crap out of you.
No, hold on. I don't think 10 works because you have 8, then you would have 4 left plus 2. That's 6. You can't have a 6 team. You'd have to have a double bye.
Come on, Kobe.
Gosh, who's letting me make these brackets? who's letting me do this?
Great snapper of the football. Not a great bracketologist.
Not at all.
Anyways, let's transition to the full show. Let's talk about it. Georgia on the road to Starkville this weekend. I'm going to hate these damn Cowboys by the end of this thing. I'm going to be there in person. It's an open air press box, so the noise will not be muted at all. I might even have to bring my own cowbell just so that way if it's going to drive me crazy, I'm a part of it. I won't do that. I promise, Dan. But before we get into that game, some injury news on the injury front. We were talking about Chauncey Bowens last Sunday, asking why this guy didn't get more carries. He was asked by Anthony Dasher, if I remember correctly, what his status was, and Kirby confirmed he is healthy. It sounds like the calf injury he did have back in the Kentucky game or Auburn game, whichever one it was, is not bothering him anymore. On bigger injury news in terms of unfortunate news for Georgia, Jordan Hall, as expected, after seeing him go down, Kirby said will be out for a long time. Didn't say when or how long, but he said significant amount of time. So you can imagine probably looking at maybe out for the season, I would assume. On that front, on the same note, he went ahead and spoke on one of the guys that is going to be expected to step up, and that's Nnamdi Ogboko, who I think y'all remember had a pretty impressive pass rush versus Tennessee. Just threw a guy up out the club. Somebody who said Kirby talked about him running scout team. He said, and I quote, he is a guy who is similar to Kristen Miller. Was in his sophomore year. Kristen went down there with us, and Jordan went down there with us. We've had a laundry list of guys who've gone down there. We say go against our best offense or our best line, and a lot of the times their growth explodes. that's good news for Nnamdi Ogboko. Obviously, he'll be splitting snaps with Joshua Horton and Xavier McLeod. Where are y'all at? Obviously, Hall is a big loss. Where are y'all at on the defensive front, especially on the interior? Because obviously, we know we've talked about the edge group more times than any position group this season. It's like the receivers last year. We're talking about the edge group every single week. We haven't really talked about the interior, which, in my opinion, that's a good thing. Until now, when you're talking about it, now it's kind of like, ooh, they suffered a big injury to a significant player.
I'll start off by saying that the guy you just said, Mdaka Blakadabawa, I don't know who that is. I've never even heard that name before. Where is
Nnamdi
he?
Ogboko?
I've not ever heard that name before. Has he gotten play time this year?
Mm-hmm. Dan didn't listen to any of my spiel. Damn it, boy.
Dude, that name just went shoot. I thought you were like trying to like punk me and see if I would like be like.
Thought I was pulling a Gronk. You seen that Fox?
I thought you were like trying to see if I would talk about somebody and be like, oh yeah, he's gonna be great. And I was like, I don't know that guy. No, listen. That's a great idea. The defensive line has done a pretty decent job this year. Of freeing up the linebackers to move around. You know, CJ Allen's had an opportunity to make some tackles. And that's really what listen, it'd be great to get some pressure out of that defensive line. But, you know, as long as you can occupy blockers and allow your linebackers to make plays at or behind the line of scrimmage, you're doing your job. And I think they've done a great job of doing that so far this season. Christian Miller has obviously been a really I think has really stepped it up. And the numbers may not bear that out. I don't know if they do or not. It's not like I studied defensive line numbers, but I have felt like I have heard Christian Miller's name more than I have in the past. And I thought that and somebody tried to tell me that Jordan Hall wasn't as productive this year as he should be. But at the same time, I felt like Jordan Hall had made an improvement from last year to this year. So clearly he'll be missed. If you're on the field for Georgia's defense, if you're a starter or, you know, one of the frontline guys, you're a pretty good football player. So to say that you're not going to be missed would be pretty asinine to me.
I think I like what Dan had to say there, you know, kind of at the end. Like, obviously, statistically speaking, nobody that plays the interior defensive line position at the University of Georgia is typically going to jump out at you statistically, right? Like, they're not going to, you know, you're not going to look at a sheet and be like, oh my God, this guy's got 35 tackles, 10 tackles for loss. That's just not how Trey Scott and Coach Smart want that position. Like, they are just big, ugly, nasty, dirty, you know, people that are taking up as many blockers as humanly possible. So we continue to win Butkus awards at the linebacker position, right? Like, I mean, we got another semifinalist. I feel like we have a semifinalist for the Butkus every year. And it's because those guys do their job, and they do it so well that you don't even think about it. Obviously, yeah, Jordan Hall, he's a 5-star defensive lineman. I'm sure that people expected maybe a lot more out of him statistically, but to me, he's done his job. He's done what's been asked of him. He's done a great job. I feel bad for him that, you know, to be injured in that way that possibly cost you the rest of the season just really sucks. You know, hindsight 2020, Kirby's not going to jog somebody out there that's not ready to go. You know what I mean? Like, at this point in the year, it's been long enough for these guys that either getting some playing time, getting to travel. You know, I think the big thing is, can you just take up blockers? Can you be a big guy? And I'm pretty sure for Ogboko, Akboko, I think I saw Kirby talk about he's like 340, 345 pounds. Like, he's like big Jordan Davis in there going back for the second plate of supper every once in a while. So I like him. You know, it's hard to move 340. I don't care how strong you are. So
Kobe knows from experience having to move those guys.
Brother. It's like the little engine that could. You know what I mean? Like, so
340 pounds, sir. I was unfamiliar with your work.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's a massive individual. So I'm excited. Sometimes there is the blissful ignorance of youth that can make you play better, right? Like, this guy's probably never got to start a game at defensive line, like actually start a game at defensive line in his life. it just always seems like you're kind of like flying by the seat of your pants with your hair on fire. He'll end up having a great game, like 3 or 4 tackles, pass deflection, and you'll be like, why haven't we been playing this guy all year? So I'm excited. I hate it for Jordan Hall. It's a long road to recovery. If you're going to be out for the year, to me that tells me it's at least going to be 6 to 8 months before you're like ready to play football again. So
For sure.
Here's a stat that will blow Dan's mind. Nnamdi Boko had the first defensive line sack for Georgia this season versus Kentucky. Was that the game you were at in person? No, it was the Ole Miss game you were there in person.
Dan didn't even know this guy existed, let alone that he played football at the University of Georgia.
I'm disappointed.
Hey, that is not being disrespectful to that guy. Okay, like
Dan just doesn't know the roster, guys. He sucks with the roster.
The depth.
To be fair, it took me like actively studying the roster until like game 4 to have like a good idea of looking at a number and going, that is who that is. Like immediately knowing who that is.
The first few games of each season, it does take a little bit because some guys change numbers. But yeah, dude, very fair.
Like when I'm watching the game, I know all the guys on the field. I guess maybe defensive line just gets lost on me. I don't know. I just that name I've never. I mean, I probably saw the number out there. What number is he?
95.
Yep. All right.
He's an interior guy. You've definitely seen him. You've definitely seen him out there.
But like you can quiz me. I know numbers. You can hit me up. Go ahead. Hit me with
Xavier McLeod.
Come on, bro. 97?
I mean, you just said 94.
94. Joseph Jonah Jr.
99.
Big 99.
There we go. Let's go. All right. I wanted to talk about, because obviously that's big news. Before we hit that front, I see a lot of the rival fans talking about, oh, it's such a big blow for Georgia's defense line, and it is. But when I see them talking about it, they forget to mention that Kristen Miller's still there, and Kristen Miller was a preseason All-SEC candidate. So I'm excited for. I obviously hate it for Jordan Hall because that's a guy that's been battling injuries the last 2 years. But I like it for, obviously, it's good for Xavier McLeod, it's good for Joshua Horton, and it's good for Nnamdi Boko. You're building depth in that room, not only for this year, but for next year. And they're going to have a chance to go do that. Nnamdi's been one of their best interior rushers this year, getting after the passer. So that's something that you should be excited about. Joseph Jr. told us this week that, he said Nnamdi was brought in to be a first and second down player for Georgia, and he surprised everybody with how well he can get after the passer. So
Josh Horton, by the way, Dan, is who knocked down the pass against Ole Miss, since you're learning about defensive linemen tonight.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Let's get into actual ball talk here. How about Anthony Evans? I think we've talked about it on this show before. It feels like over the last few years, there haven't been many that have left Georgia and found great success elsewhere, especially on offense. On defense, it's much more common, it feels like, because obviously there's a little bit more. There's obviously some positions where Georgia has an embarrassment of riches, and those guys go elsewhere and play really well. Anthony Evans has been one of the top performing transfers from Georgia this year. Second on the team at Mississippi State in yardage, had the game-winning touchdown last weekend versus Arkansas. This was a guy that was just pretty much a special teams returner, played return for both sides, featured a little bit on offense as kind of like a gadget guy, just never really found his footing. And now he's playing in an offense where it's pace and space. And Kirby said Brennan Thompson, a transfer from OU in Texas, was the fastest player he's seen on tape in quite a while. I'm curious what this is going to look like. And we're obviously in predictions tonight. We'll talk about the spread. Spread's 8.5. Spoiler alert, I'm not feeling good about 8.5 because last week was a bad beat.
Well, I heard 7.5, but that's neither here nor there. Going back to Anthony Evans, that's one of those guys where if you go back, and you won't, but if you go back on our show, we did talk about him, about getting him some more opportunities. But he is a prime example of fit, right? Where I don't think it was ever questioned that he was talented. It was just the fit wasn't exactly right. He found himself, and this is where you got to give a kid like him a lot of credit. he went and found a situation that fits what he does well. So what he does well is what they needed, and the fit was perfect, and he's being able to flourish in that system. So many times these kids just go to the name, they go to the money, and they're not paying attention to that. The kids who do their homework, they end up having a lot of success. And I mean, you can go around all of college football and you can look at the guys who are in the right place at the right time. And look at Wilson, the defensive end that went up to Missouri. They use him to do exactly what he does well. And he is having a hell of a season. That's not to say that he couldn't have done that at Georgia. He just hadn't. So I just like my biggest takeaway with a guy like that is good on you for finding a spot that will work, because there's so many other kids that just keep following money, keep following names, and it's all about prestige and all this other stuff. He didn't give a shit about any of that. He went to Mississippi State, still an SEC school, but at the bottom of the barrel. But what they needed, he could provide, and he's done a great job of doing that, and I'm really, really happy for him.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that you go somewhere that veer and shoot, like you're obviously it's going to be a high volume of passing. It's going to be high volume of routes running downfield. And it's not going to be a high volume of being in there to block. I think that's the great equalizer, and the thing that makes it so hard on our receivers to get on the field early is Kirby wants to know, can you block first? Can you block? Can you play the position without the ball in your hands consistently well enough to deserve the right to get the ball thrown to you at other points in time? And I think that's what makes it so hard for these guys, like, when they're young. And then even in an Anthony Evans type situation, like you're saying, more like a gadget guy of like, maybe he's not the best blocker. Maybe he's not the most consistent blocker. He's phenomenal when he has the ball in his hands. But we just don't seem to get it to him because, in either the head ball coach's mind, in whatever situation, you don't feel like he's earned it the most. You end up going over to Mississippi State where they're throwing the ball, 6-7 times to every receiver they got. Whoever's open's getting it. And he's obviously made the most or the second most of those opportunities. So happy for him there. I think the big thing is, he will give you – there will be issues with this team. The Mississippi State throwing the ball at a fast pace, trying to take the top off, I mean, that's going to cause issues for our defense. It's caused issues against Tennessee. It's caused issues against Ole Miss. There will be – I mean, even Florida took the top off one time for a touchdown. Should have took the top off, if it's not underthrown, probably for a second one late in the game. I'm really thinking I'm with you on the spread, no touchy-touchy. I think we're going to run the ball. I mean, I think we're talking about like the 87th or almost the 90th best rushing defense in all of college football at Mississippi State. I see Kirby trying to limit those top performers the best he can and make Mississippi State beat you in a way that they're not comfortable with. But as far as just kind of wrapping things up on Evans, I think he's having a great year. He's a good fit, like Dan said, but it fits what Mississippi State wants. I do think that sometimes you worry about how that then translates to the next level because nobody runs the veer and shoot in the NFL.
True. Is this a trap game?
Nope. I told you that earlier in the week. I'll tell you that again. It's not a trap game. Head ball coach, they have played way too many teams way too close for it to be a trap game. If they would have snoozed through a couple of those games, maybe. But they played Tennessee to overtime and Texas to overtime, and they only lost Florida by 2. And not a trap game.
Not a trap game. I remember you talking about it. I was like, hey, has it shifted? Has it shifted for him? Talking about, I guess, defending Mississippi State's passing game. Kirby today in the teleconference didn't exactly like a certain question about a secondary in regards to giving up explosive plays. He revealed today, I guess he said they lead the SEC in terms of giving up the least amount of explosives defensively. I did not know that. Georgia does. Yep.
If you would have told me that, I would have said that was a lie. If you said true or false, I would have said false.
I would have thought the same, but apparently,
what's the explosive criteria? 20 yards for a pass?
I don't know. Georgia does it weird. Georgia's a little different because I
It's
think
like
they
it's
have
like
it,
12 yards for a run, like 20 or 25 yards for a pass or something like that.
and I think Georgia knocks down one of those numbers to like by 5 yards to count as an explosive, if I remember correctly. But I mean, look, outside of the one they gave up one to Florida last week, as Kobe talked about. I think the one outlier in all of this was they gave up quite a few in that Tennessee game. But if you go back and think about it, for the most part, it does somewhat feel like they've done better about it. Like I don't remember how many how many big plays did Alabama get? Just absolute burners. I mean, the one that stands out was the near one they had to Ryan Williams in the middle of the field.
Like you're saying, at this point, I agree with him. I would say that outside of the Florida game, I mean, if you think back to SEC, like Tennessee had a deep ball for a touchdown, so maybe like 2 explosive plays for Tennessee. No like big hitters for Alabama all night, not like really big. Ole Miss had the 75-yard touchdown, and then Florida had the big 40-yard touchdown at one point. But like you're saying, you limited teams to, it goes both ways, right? Like Alabama also had 2 or 3 10-plus play drives in that game. What's worse, the death by 1,000 cuts that ended in 7 or the big plays that ended in 7? I think the goal would be those drives ending in 3 or 0, a punt,
Dude, death by 1,000 cuts is brutal. That is so demoralizing when you just can't stop somebody. Like, no, I mean, obviously you don't want to give up points anyway, but like when you give up like the home run ball, like a lot of times somebody made a mistake, right? It's very rarely you just get straight up just beat. I mean, it does happen. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but the death by 1,000 cuts, like where it's just 3, 5, 2, 7, 9, 4, 2, 1, 9. Like that is maddening because you just can't get off the field, and it's so frustrating to watch. And if you're part of a team or something like that, it just is demoralizing. It takes all of your energy away. It takes all of your enthusiasm away. So can we avoid that? But I don't necessarily want to be giving up bombs either. But yeah, but that's what Georgia does to people on the flip side of that, right? We absolutely grind it down your throat and just play keep away. And it is demoralizing. 100% is demoralizing. I don't even remember what the question was, but I just.
Well, and if you remember the Florida game, Florida had short fields on relatively short. They had a short field in their first touchdown drive. And I think they really only had to like earn in terms of a full length of field or, regular length of field for that second touchdown. Other than that, they were punting the ball. Like that was Georgia's best game in terms of getting off the damn field on third down. By far. Not even close in terms of SEC comps.
I mean, they were 0 in the first half, 0-5 in the first half. Florida was third down.
Now, granted, Florida's one of the worst teams in the nation on third down offense.
Hey, I don't need to hear that.
For Georgia defense that's been awful on third down, it was nice to see.
We could have just rode into the sunset, the 0-5 in the first half. I didn't need the media man checking me with the stats at the door.
Hey, well, I'm going to check you with some stats in the door here in a minute because I just got done looking at the records from last week's picks. Not a great week for the boys. Not a great week. Maybe this week will be better. All right. Real quick, before we move on. How's this game go down? How do we see this game going down, boys? Is this a game where Georgia comes out and controls it early, a la maybe like, I don't want to say Kentucky style, like where you blow them out, or is this another one? Is this just going to be another game where same old story? Georgia goes down early, Georgia comes back, Georgia wins.
Well, I don't want to speak for him, but Kobe and I have basically been calling in some of these games earlier in the year where we felt like this is the opportunity for Georgia to really stomp somebody and put their foot on the throat and just like run the life out of them. But they just haven't done it. And remember, Harrison, a couple of years ago when you and I were having those conversations every week, it was just like at some point we're like, it's not coming. And this is the Georgia team that we have. And like we keep saying that, like, oh, this is going to be the day that Georgia just shows up and beats the hell out of somebody. And it just never happens. So I am of the opinion at this point of the season that it is not coming. Please, dear God, prove me wrong. I will come on this show next week and be like, I was so wrong. I'm the dumbest human on earth. But I am over trying to say that this is the week Georgia shows up and just beats the hell out of somebody because they haven't done it yet. They're winning football games. That's a great job. I'm not upset that we're winning football games. I'm just saying they have not put 4 quarters together. It doesn't look like that's ever going to happen. So I have a feeling we're going to be sweating this one out for a little while before Georgia just kind of puts the death march to them. Kobe, talk me off a ledge.
Yeah, I will. That's what I do best. I talk the two of you off of separate ledges. I think. Have either of you ever had the opportunity to watch, the Naval Academy play a football game, and the way that it is just handoff left, handoff right, handoff left, 8-minute drive later? I'm not gonna lie to y'all. We might as well be the University of Georgia at the Naval Academy this Saturday. The way I feel like this is gonna go, it's gonna be ground and pound. Our offense versus a horrible run defense. Kirby's going to try to shorten the game, get the heck out of Dodge, and get ready to play Texas. I think it will be a tight game just because I think Mississippi State will be able to score a time or two, but I do think it won't be that like fourth quarter sweat it out till the very end type of game. I think that you catch them slipping, catch them turn the ball over. I think they do have a tendency to kind of put the ball in danger. So I think all things go well. Dogs win like 34-14, something like that, and head on out.
All right. Well, then I don't even need to ask. Kobe has the Dogs covering. Guys, I'm sorry. I got the Bulldogs covering of Mississippi State, the 8.5. I do.
I think
but Georgia wins
by 10.
All right, so Dan has them covering as well. Shit. The day these guys don't pick Georgia to cover will be the day I retire.
Listen, I just think this is a game you're supposed to win 42-10 or 42-3 or something. It's just not going to freaking happen. So this is going to be like –
it's a nice clash of styles, Dan. Mississippi State loves the thrill of almost winning, and Georgia loves almost losing.
I mean, I could just – I don't know. I almost trust.
Trust.
I just don't know.
Trust.
You already used your one at the beginning of the show. 2 seconds.
That ain't my damn fault. That is not my damn fault. That is your fault. You had it coming. That is your fault.
That was the most authentic Dan entrance to a show of all time. I'm joking. Usually his entrances are a little bit more subdued. They're quieter. All right. I'm taking Mississippi State plus the points. I am taking Georgia to win. Mississippi State to cover the 8.5 because, man, after seeing the bad beat last week and the reaction from the gamblers, I'm not falling for that trap again. Not falling for that trap. Yeah, sorry, Kobe. I hate it for you, man. Next, we're doing just 4 games tonight. Texas A&M goes on the road to Mizzou. Texas A&M is a 6.5-point favorite. Keynote here: Bo Pribula is out for the season. Matt Zollers is the starting quarterback in Mizzou. For those of you who don't remember, Zollers was a highly rated quarterback in last year's class. Mizzou beat out Georgia for this guy. This is a guy Georgia was recruiting for quite a while.
I was just about to ask you, why do I know that name? So I appreciate you doing that for me.
You're welcome. I'm here for you, Kobe. Just like you're here on time for the show.
Listen, I'm not going to lie to you.
I was here on time.
This is going to be just a beautiful – this will be a beautiful send-out party for Drinkwitz on his way to Penn State. Texas A&M wins and covers this. Not a problem.
All right.
I think I'm with you on that. I think Missouri's played good football this year. They're a good football team. They're not a bottom dweller. They're ranked, right? 24?
Yeah, they are.
Yep.
Yeah. But I think Texas A&M, unless this is just one of those games where Texas A&M forgets to get off the bus, but I like them to cover.
This is a clash of styles, though, like you're talking about. Missouri has probably one of the top 5 best running backs in the country. They love to run the ball, and Texas A&M is, really, really good against the run. So I just guess that, to me, Missouri lacks the explosiveness on the outside to really, threaten Texas A&M all night. So as long as they contain the running back, I feel like they'll have this game in hand pretty easily.
All right, let's go to the ACC. Let's go to Virginia. Wake Forest goes on the road to Virginia. Number 14, Virginia. Virginia's a 6.5-point favorite. Now, I preface this before y'all say this game's an easy pick 'em.
Easy
Virginia
pick
or
'em.
Wake Forest has taken Georgia Tech to the limit, 30-29 loss. They lost to NC State by 10, who just beat Georgia Tech. Now, they did get whooped by Florida State, 42-7, but they've played some teams close this year, which, hey, sometimes that's all you can ask for.
Virginia has the same problem the Dogs kind of have, right? They love the thrill of trying to lose a game maybe they shouldn't. I think Virginia kind of finally sees the writing on the wall this week that the ACC and the playoffs are ahead of them. I think they get it done against Wake. I think the Wake got beat pretty ugly last week against Florida State, and I think it maybe isn't quite that bad, but I think Virginia kind of makes a statement on their road to making a reason why they should be a playoff team.
I don't have the strongest pull on this game. I don't have the strongest feel. I think both teams have been wildly inconsistent. I think Wake Forest shows up and plays really big games. So, in honor of my guy, Braxton Rambert, I am going to pick Wake Forest.
There we go. I was trying, because I had the Oregon game in this slot, and I was like, we're all going to pick Oregon. So I switched it because I wanted something where we're a little bit different. So at least
Who do they
one
play?
different pick. They play Iowa at Iowa in some rain, in a rain game potentially. I'm taking UVA to cover here.
Is it 9 for Iowa?
It's a 3:30 kick.
You might would have been surprised.
Huh. You gonna take the all right? Maybe I'll do it. I mean, if
Sidebar: is there a better tradition
I was about to say
than the wave?
Thank you. I was about to say something about them waving to them cancer kids gives them superpowers sometimes at night. It's like they wave, and all of a sudden they beat the crap out of Ohio State, and it's just like, where the hell did that come from?
7-6, baby.
They said the weather forecast says it's 42 degrees, but it's gonna feel like 30 something.
Yeah. What are the points on that game?
Oregon is a 6.5-point favorite.
Yep. I'll have to make a call to the bookie.
All right. Last game that we're gonna pick. Now we might switch to the Oregon game if y'all like this one better, which y'all might, but this is a top 10 matchup. In Lubbock, BYU, number 7 BYU goes on the road, the number 8 Texas Tech. Before I give you the line, does anyone want to guess this line? This one's the shocker of the week for me.
12.5. Texas Tech, 12.5.
Damn, Kobe. Damn.
What's the game?
Texas or BYU at Texas Tech.
Double digits Tech.
Damn.
Gotta be.
Y'all are good. All right. Yeah, 10.5. Texas Tech is a 10.5-point favorite against the team that is ranked higher than them, according to the committee.
Yeah. The hard thing there is, I mean, the quarterback of BYU is wearing number 47. It just worries me to my core. You know what I mean?
What was your number at Georgia? Were you
49? I was 49.
Okay.
I mean, I was 2 over this guy, and he's playing quarterback.
All right. Well, let me tell you something. So, my high school quarterback, guy named Ernie Dye, wore 18 in high school. He went to college, he wore 23. And I was like, bro, why are you wearing 23 as a quarterback? He goes, because if you get your ass whooped by a quarterback wearing 15 or something, it's just another quarterback wearing number 15. He goes, you get your ass whooped by a quarterback wearing 23, you're going to remember that.
Hey, that's solid logic.
I think it's amazing. BYU's super impressive. I mean, you know, we talk about Tennessee losing Nico at the beginning of the year to the transfer portal. People forget BYU lost their returning quarterback, to right before this season too, like within 30 days to really just
those allegations.
Really just school reasons at that point, because the allegations ended up all being dropped, but you admit to some premaritals, and BYU's like, Gots to go. So I like Texas Tech in this. I think BYU's been really good. They were really good last year at this point. I think they were 9-0 and finished like 9-3. So I see similar things happen this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think Texas Tech wins this football game. I mean, we both knew that line was going to be over 10, so I think that kind of tells you where our mindset was.
I'm shocked. Y'all both had this at base. I mean, Dan said double digits. Kobe had 12.5. I'm with y'all. I think this is the annual BYU's a fraud game. It's going to be decisive. Texas Tech covering the 10.5 point spread. I don't like taking 10.5 point spreads in ranked matchups. It scares me taking a 10.5 point favorite, especially in this situation. But I think this is the annual BYU's a fraud. And maybe you can say at this point, Texas Tech's legit. They certainly have turned it up on the recruiting trail with LaDamian Guyton now being a member of their 2026 recruiting class as a 5-star here out of Georgia. Anyways, I did do it, but I will let y'all know. All three of us went 2-3 last week. Ohio State, after initially looking like they may not cover, did cover 20.5 versus Penn State. Texas covered 2.5 versus Vandy, but Tennessee did not cover 3.5 for us. Georgia didn't cover -7.5. That was a bad beat, probably one of the worst beats of the season. And then USC did not cover -6.5. They won 21-17 despite Dylan Raiola going down with an injury midway through that football game. So 2-3 across the board last weekend. We will see who comes out on top this week. Dan's the only one with a different pick. So Dan could end up being 5-0, and Kobe and I are 4-1. And we're sitting here looking at, well, I guess I picked Mississippi State to cover. So there are
what you're telling me is we can't be 0-5. Somebody's got to be right here.
Somebody
you know what I'm saying? That's what I like to hear.
Win.
Somebody fixed the graphic at the bottom. We didn't all pick the same, you know.
I'm here for it. That's what I tried to do because last week we all had the same picks. I'm like, this sucks. Where's competition here? We brought competition this weekend. Should be a fun week of college football. By the way, just a note, I will not be here on Sunday. Going to be covering the Dogs playing basketball in Stegman after I get back from Starkville. Assuming Kobe and Dan are still down, the show will air as scheduled at 8:30 on Sunday, right? Are y'all still down to do a Sunday show? I guess I'm putting y'all on the spot.
show will go on.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll be back. I'm going home to Cairo this weekend, but I should be back by 8:30 on Sunday. So,
can I get some syrup?
No.
Damn it. We'll try eventually.
I want some sawdust from that sawmill.
We're taking the Top Dog Talk on the road to Cairo for one show.
Hey, listen, I might be down there a lot next season.
I'm pulling the Kirk Herbstreit. I got the computer in the car with me on the way to the airport. This is what we're hearing, guys.
Can we get the live shot of Kobe on the way down there from a different car? Get a live shot. Put him in a open top Jeep so we can see in. All right. Anyways, that's gonna wrap it up for this week's edition of the Top Dog Talk podcast. The fellas will be back 8:30 on Sunday with the reaction show. I unfortunately will not be here for that. Now, granted, I might be able to make a surprise appearance depending on what time I get home. But the fellas might already be done and wrapped for the weekend. But anyways, they will see you live at 8:30 on Sunday. I will see you next Wednesday at 7:30. This is the Top Dog Talk podcast. That's Dan Kiley. That is Kobe Pierce down on the bottom. We have not heard from Bama Dan in quite a while. Maybe if they lose LSU, maybe we'll hear from our good old friend Bama Dan.